Good evening and welcome back to KTN News Checkpoint. We're glad that you're watching this evening. So State of the Nation is our conversation tonight. We'd like you to be part of it. Remember, you can tweet me at Sophia Wanuna. The hashtag is Checkpoint. So, reports from the Director of Criminal Investigations, DCI, that they were probing a possible loss of 21 billion shillings in a dam scandal has elicited a lot of conversation. Last week, the Deputy President himself, in fact, described that as a flat lie, saying there's no such thing as a loss of 21 billion shillings, that in fact the money in question is about 7 billion shillings. And that was not the only time he spoke about that. Let's listen to the Deputy President continuing to talk about the same thing, and in fact accusing those he describes as individuals who are out to scuttle development. Let's listen.
We will not allow people whose signature is keeping people in the slavery of poverty and fighting every development initiative using fake data, fake news, and false information to try and scuttle the development agenda that we have set for our country.
Nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. And if somebody is stealing, don't go and shout there and tell us that, oh, 7 billion shillings is nothing. 7 billion shillings is not pocket change. See, President has.
Forget about focusing on the petty politics of 2022 and William Ruto and some mandasinomics you have been telling us about.
Mandasinomics, a new term in town coined there by the Deputy President. Let me introduce my guest to you this evening. I have John Badi. He's the ODM chairperson, the leader of minority in the National Assembly, and the Suba constituency member of parliament. Suba South, I beg your pardon, member of parliament. Kimani Ichung'wah also is with me, Kikuyu member of parliament, and the budget committee chair in the National Assembly. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us this evening. I'll begin with you, Chairman. You've listened to what those leaders have had to say. Did it first come as a surprise to you when you heard the Deputy President describe what investigation the DCI is conducting as a flat line as far as the figures concerned, and saying that there's a bank guarantee and it's just 7 billion shillings?
Well, not really a surprise, but a little rather reckless and careless for a Deputy President to talk the way he did. Sophia, we need to understand where we are and where we've come from. Remember, immediately Jubilee came to power, there have been reported cases of corruption, and even before, by the way, to be fair to Jubilee administration. But we kept on asking the President to crack the whip. The President at one point even had to throw in the towel and ask us, what would I do? There are institutions that are tasked with the responsibility of fighting corruption and talking about their independence, but we kept on reminding the President that, Mr. President, you have some institutions that you can use. There is the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, there is NIS, there is Inspectorate of State Corporation, we have even internal audit of the Treasury. And so immediately after last election and after the controversies around it, and now coming together with Raila Odinga and shaking hands, one of the items in the Building Bridges initiative was fight against corruption. And so I think the President got the courage, given the fact that now at least he had the backing of his main competitor. And they made it very clear that they are going to fight corruption. And the Right Honorable Raila Odinga came to NEC of ODM and reported to us, and we gave him the go-ahead, and we decided as a party that we'll be behind the President in the fight against corruption. Now, since that time, some impetus has been realized in terms of DCI, the reforms that were made, the courage that the DCI has in now investigating scandals or alleged or perceived or what I would call suspected crime, economic crimes.
Right.
And we are, for the first time, seeing what we used to call a big fish now being attacked. And now you see a Deputy President who at one point committed himself that he would also join the rest in supporting this fight,
right,
coming out from nowhere. In fact, if I was the deputy president, this is what I would have done. Even if I was suspecting that probably DCI is not doing a good job, what the deputy president would have done, there are other state agencies within his powers. The Inspectorate of State Corporation, you would have deployed the Inspectorate of State Corporation to Kerio Valley Development Authority to go and audit and bring a report to him. So if what the deputy president would have done was to come out with a report and tell the nation that according to our internal audit and investigation, this is what we have found. But then telling Kenyans that it is only 7 billion, that to me is not helping us much, because whether it is 21, 7 or even 1 billion, it is still taxpayers' money. It is still our money. Even if it is loan, we are going to pay it. And by the way, up to this point, these are still suspicion.
Okay.
And the DCI is perfectly in order to audit. And Kenyans are asking questions. I will address, if you give me time later on, the questions that the Kenyans are asking regarding these two contracts. And they are not idle questions. We must ask them.
You must ask them. Let me bring in Chair Budget Committee, because there are those who then would expect the next natural thing to happen is that the Deputy President, knowing what he appears to know and accusing DCI of lying to the country, should go to the DCI and submit this information or record a statement that perhaps would shed more light.
First, let me say, Sophia, you know, you're very cunning in the media because you've cut that clip. And I was seated there when the Deputy President spoke at the function of the judiciary. We, the President, also seated there with the two speakers of both the National Assembly and the Senate seated there, the Chief Justice, and almost the entire judiciary represented there, from magistrates, from the Law Society of Kenya. Everybody in the legal profession was almost everybody was there during the launch of that State of the Judiciary report. And what the Deputy President said, if you would play that clip from the beginning to the end.
But actually, that was not from that meeting. This is, I believe, was it yesterday? This is not from
This was in Garissa.
Yes, this was not from that day. But he first
spoke about that issue.
Yes.
And if you listen to the whole clip of what he said.
I watched it live.
He's saying that, for instance, and he gave it as an example, he said, first, we must wage the war against corruption, and we all support the war against corruption, but we must wage this war against corruption basing it on facts, evidence and the truth, not propaganda, mambo ya fitina and lies.
Correct.
And he said, for instance, we are now being told by the media that 21 billion shillings has been lost in Aror and Kimwarer Damos and Itare Dam. And he said, what is actually in question is 7 billion shillings. And I can tell you, not a coin, not a cent will be lost in this, because even what has been paid as advance payment, and these are facts, is covered by a bank guarantee.
First, I take exception with that it's the media. The media quotes the DCI saying they're looking for... So unless you're also saying the DCI is lying.
Let me finish my point.
Yeah.
I'll come to your question. He further said that even what has been paid out, which is about 7 billion shillings, is fully covered by a bank guarantee. I think it's good to let Kenyans and educate Kenyans on the basis of facts and the truth. That one, the Public Procurement Act is very clear, that you cannot make an advance payment on any contract that is not covered by a bank guarantee. Therefore, it is a flat lie when someone tells you that 21 billion shillings is lost in a contract or in contracts where only 7.4 billion, if I remember right, is what has been paid out. And even that 7.4 billion that has been paid out... To towels
in millions?
Let me finish.
The bank will guarantee... It has not been
paid out. And for instance, by the way, even if the contractor was paid and went and bought towels, that money is covered. Because there are certain milestones that you agree in the contract. And we are not privy to this contract. You are told, for instance, you will get an advance payment of, say, 10%, or in most cases it's 10 or to 20% at most, or maybe 50%. Let's assume it's even 10%. This dam that is 34 billion, you get 10%, 3.4 billion. You will give us a bank guarantee that should you not meet certain milestones within a certain period of time, we can cash that bank guarantee and we'll get our money back. Whether you choose to take your girlfriend on a holiday somewhere in Europe or somewhere with the 3.4 billion, it's your business. Our business is that when we deliver on our part of the contract, which in the case of dams, and I don't have the details about Itare Dam and all the others, but I want to give you the case example of a dam that has mentioned, Karimenu Dam, which has been paid. Money has been released to the National Lands Commission for compensation of landowners. If you go to Karimenu in Gatundu North, not a single person who is affected by that project has been paid, has moved out of their farm. The contractor has received his advance payment. Not a single heavy machinery is on the ground. Right. Therefore, we can also say Karimenu has been paid and money has been stolen. And we can say we're investigating that, which is well within everybody's right. But it is also important that we base all our investigations on facts. And that's what the Deputy President was saying. But before that... You
haven't answered my question. Doesn't he now owe the country and DCI this information he has? Because he argues this is what is in consultation. And then the DCI says this is a different amount. We're hearing, yes, you've talked about all those things. The
Deputy President does not owe DCI, ESCC,
He's chosen to pick this issue up. Nobody told him to. He chose to pick it up.
Because
after he came out and accused him of lying?
Sophia, I was telling you, before the Deputy President spoke, the Speaker of the National Assembly spoke. And he said that, if I remember his words verbatim, he said that the judiciary makes its pronouncements through its judgments. And they do not, unlike the institution where I work, this is the Speaker speaking, where because people are politicians who work in that institution speaking about Parliament, me and John Bundy, he said, we are allowed to chase after headlines. But he said the judiciary cannot chase headlines. They will be heard when they make pronouncements to their judgments. Right. And he called on other agencies that are working together with the judiciary in the fight against corruption to stop chasing headlines and just do your work. But I'll tell you, for instance.
Yes, I need to,
2 weeks ago,
as you proceed.
2 weeks ago, we saw the ESCC, new boss at ESCC,
yes,
when they went to arrest, with a lot of drama, the governor for Samburu. And he appeared, I think it was a committee of the National Assembly or the Senate. And he said that indeed, in the coming week, we will be going for 2 other governors.
And we'll talk more about the conduct of the DCI in just a moment.
Just go and do it.
We want to release our viewers on KTN Home. Continue this conversation with us on KTN News. Chairman, you said you also have concerns around the same. And there's questions around that there was no feasibility study conducted on this project, that the Italian contractor and company is bankrupt. The story of towels, that 10 million was paid to one of the companies in Kenya to supply food, and yet there's nobody there. What do you make of all these questions arising, but also on the other hand, the DP saying it's only 7 billion in question here, but are those issues more important around how, even if it's 2 billion, how that money was spent?
You see, Sophia, for me, these questions are better addressed by Kerio Valley Development Authority and the ministers, the line ministers. In fact, the Deputy President is not under any obligation to address this issue. And I want to say, without any fear of contradiction, that we have had so many cases of corruption being investigated. Why the DP chose on this one, I don't understand. We have had Kenya Power being investigated, Kenya Pipeline, there are people who have been even arrested. There are cases of NSSF, NHIF, so many parastatals. And even government ministries are being investigated every day. There was even a report of security, investigation on security expenditure. So why the Deputy President went out almost, I don't know whether I should use this word, almost berserk on this matter, is him who can address. But let me tell you this. What Kenyans want addressed, and no one among us here has the answers. In fact, sometimes when I listen to my friend, the chair of budget, Kimani Ichung'wah, speak, I ask myself, is he a procurement officer of the Kerio Valley Development Authority to get to know that everything has been done above board? We don't know. Actually, DCI is telling us there are suspicious, suspicious signs. So one, the question that is being asked, there's nothing really wrong with advance payments. It happens in almost every major commercial contract.
Correct.
We are told 15% has been paid to contractors, which amounts to 7.8 billion. The question that Kenyans are asking, at the point you are making this payment to this contractor, and it is a loan, and we know that there are certain contracts where you do the design, you build, you procure, and you finance. And this seems to be one of them. But can't you first secure the land? That is a question that Kenyans are asking. We hear part of the land is in the forest. It has not been degazetted. Why couldn't you do these preliminaries? Because when you start expending resources, then if it is a loan, the terms of the loan starts kicking in. And Kenyans will be asked to pay in due course. And if we will be paying and these dams have not been constructed, is it value for money? Kenyans are asking, there are these reports that this money was paid to Italy, to a bank in Italy, then it went to London, and part of it came to a bank in Westlands. We want to get answers. We are not saying that it is factual, that the money came here and was withdrawn in dollars at a bank in Westlands. But if there is already suspicion to that effect, why can the deputy keep his cool and the people who are around him, what I would call surrogates of the DP, let them keep quiet and wait for the DCI to finish investigation. And Kenyans would be told whether it is true that money is lost or not. There are issues about Kimani Ichung'wah and even Treasury was talking about 7.8 billion. But look at the media, that particular advert that which appeared in today's print media from the Treasury. There is money that has been paid, 11 billion for insurance premium, to ensure this money to cover or to protect the lenders, which is again Italian government-owned company. 11 billion is paid to cover them or cushion them against financial risk. That is also money that people of Kenya will pay. So if you add all this, it is translating to the 21 billion. If you add the commitment fees, you add agency fees, you add insurance premium, you add now the money that is actually paid to the contractor, which is 7.8, it translates to over 20 billion. So the DCI is not wrong to say that the people of Kenya have already paid around 21 billion. So I don't see the contradiction here. What we are asking, and then there are reports that this farm or this company is struggling. Further, Itare Dam, which had been given to this company earlier, is not is behind schedule. We need answers. 2 more dams have been awarded to this contractor, one in Meru, another one in Baringo. We need answers. Why this company? So these answers can only be provided by the line ministries. These answers can only be given by the state agency. That is and
he's investigating,
not politicians.
He summoned the directors of the companies to appear. So wouldn't you concede the point, Honorable Ichung'wah, that to comment on the matter at this level was premature, at least to come out so strongly, and not once, but on several occasions, and so many others around. I think because it's an investigation. No one has been arrested or indicted yet.
Sophia, you know, I would concede to make you happy. Unfortunately, I'm not here to make you happy, John, my friend John.
No, I don't
think he's trying to make me happy.
I'm already
having a discussion.
I'm already happy.
He's already happy. He's being in government now. But I was telling you this. One, John is wrong to say that the Deputy President did not comment on the other alleged investigations, KPC, KPLC, and all the others. And in fact, even before the Deputy President commented on it, I had commented it in a group, in one of our WhatsApp groups for members of Parliament from Central Kenya. When somebody said that whether these headlines are true or not, they are not reflecting very well on our country. And in response to that is actually the Member of Parliament for Gatundu North who had posted that. And I said, in response to that, I agreed with her and I told her, Mahesh, indeed, they're not reflecting well. One, we are telling any investor who wants to come and invest in this country that this is a den of thieves where you cannot be guaranteed of a good return because of corruption in this country. Two, we are also telling our taxpayers that doesn't pay to pay taxes. No wonder, so I sit in the budget committee with John Buddy. He will tell you where we are in terms of revenue collection. Therefore, when the Deputy President spoke, he even mentioned the other previous scandals. And he put in the context of where we have seen cases being reported out in the media where 9 billion shillings have been lost. For instance, Kenya Pipeline. I think the media reported, one of the dailies, nation newspapers, they reported 96 billion shillings has been lost.
Mheshimiwa,
When
is your
people were
concern
taken
that
to court,
reporting that paints Kenya in bad light the issue?
not the reporting.
Or is it that there have been investigations
I'm coming to the issue because I know you're getting jittery because I'm touching on the media, but hold your horses. You touch on issues, you report on issues, but it's also
criticism
you have a responsibility to report based on facts. When you report that 96 billion shillings or 9 billion shillings have been stolen from NYS, then we see people in court over 100 or 200 million. And he said Kenyans are left asking questions. And those are the questions John Buddy is telling you. Kenyans are left asking questions, what happened to all the other billions? So when we report and when even EACC or DCI or DPP says that we are investigating Kimani Ichung'wah John Buddy for loss of 100 million shillings, then you have an obligation to show Kenyans that indeed what you are doing, you are basing it on facts. And that's all the Deputy President was saying, that if you are reporting on investigating over 21 billion shillings lost, mind you, what has been reported is that money is lost. And that is what the Deputy President said, that leave alone 21 billion shillings being lost, that is a flat lie, that there is no such amount that is lost. Even the 7 billion shillings that is in question, which is what has been paid out as advance payments, which DCI has told us is investigating, that there has been advance payments, because that's what DCI said. I'm investigating advance payments that have been paid out and no work has been done. He said that we are conducting a government that, we are leading a government that is responsible, and not a coin will be lost because there's a bank guarantee. Therefore, all we are saying, and that's what I was taking you back to what J.B. Muturi had said at the Judiciary Forum, that our investigative agencies, I have seen a tendency also, and I had observed that also, to chase headlines. A competition between EACC and DCI on who is investigating more billions. So you have an issue with how they're we must all support this fight against corruption. Okay. But we cannot do it by being sensational. We will not do it by throwing names. We will also not do it by politicizing it. Okay. Because when, again, we introduce politics, what we have seen being called Mandazinomics and all those other things. Did the DP
politicize it by first commenting on it after the DCI and saying that...
The DP said, base it, investigate, but base your investigation and you are reporting on facts. Play it again. He's talking about basing what we are doing on
He's still talking about it, so he's taken it a notch high in terms of politicization of the issue by saying
he has not politicized it.
The question of, he talked about, and let's discuss that for a moment before we move on. He said there are people who are lords of poverty, that's what they're out to do, and that they're fighting development. And to many watching and listening to him...
Remember, Tare Dam, he said Lake Victoria and what other lakes and rivers will dry up if Itare Dam is constructed. It didn't start now. Itare Dam, he started the fight even before...
So you're saying the former Prime Minister is directing DCI?
We are not saying he's directing.
So how is he managing to get the DCI to do his bidding?
The Mandazinomics is when the former Prime Minister, with all due respect, said that the Deputy President referred to 7 billion shillings like it is cheap, loose change to buy Mandazi. And that's what was being told. It's not about Mandazinomics.
Francis Atwoli, the court boss, also made a reference of 7 billion shillings is not pocket change. Actually. So it was not the only one.
Figures is that you want to belittle this argument or this debate to be about a mere 7 billion shillings, when what the Deputy President had raised was a substantive, factual matter of 7 billion shillings having been paid out as advance payment, and it is secured. It is insured.
That point
it is not lost.
We need to take a break. Please briefly comment. You wanted to say something before we go on break?
No, quick one. First, I remember when we were complaining about IBC, Sophia, I remember DP saying very clearly that we need to allow our institutions to strengthen, that we need to build our institutions. I wonder when you, as the Deputy President of the Republic, start attacking the work of DCI, you are building institutions or destroying them. And really, when the DP was speaking at that function of the judiciary, who was he addressing? Because before that time, I don't think even Raila had made any comment on this matter. He must have been addressing somebody.
The media.
So if he was addressing, I don't think you can address
the
media.
He addressed the reporting.
When he actually talked about people being used to settle political scores. So I understood it to mean that he was referring to DCI. Actually, if my friend here, Kimani, who has been complaining about our budget, our loans, the debt level, he should have been the first one to ask, encourage DCI to investigate these monies that we have borrowed, and it seems to that we have paid. If we paid money in 2017, honestly, and the work is not even anywhere near starting, it should concern the chair of the budget committee in Parliament.
Yeah.
He's really not part of the executive. He's supposed to help oversight. And so I thought he would join me in also waiting for answers to these questions.
Right. We'll come back, and I'll also want to hear your comment about the DCI and how he's conducting his investigations. We had Oscar Sudi as well earlier criticize him. So we'll hear from you and also talk about KQ and that takeover that's been planned of JKIA. What's in KQ? We'll talk about that when we come back.
I
from
flew
this
KQ
break.
today.
Please stay with us.